Once upon a time, a king and a queen ruled over a distant land. One winter day, the queen was doing needlework while gazing out the ebony window at the fallen snow. A bird flew by the window, startling and harming the queen. A single drop of blood fell on the snow. As she looked at the blood, she said to herself, "Oh, how I wish that I had a daughter that had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony." Soon after, the kind queen gave birth to a baby girl with the exact details as the queen wished. They named the baby Princess Snow White, but sadly, the queen died after giving birth. Soon after, the king married a beautiful but cruel queen. She studies in dark magic and owns a magic mirror, of which she would ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Every time this was asked, the mirror gave the same answer. "Thou, my queen, is the fairest of all." This pleased the queen every day, like this mirror that she has cannot lie. One morning the queen asks the same question as she would every other day, but this time the mirror answered, "You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White is even fairer than you." The queen was incredibly jealous and ordered her own huntsman to murder Snow White in the woods. She wanted the huntsman to bring back her heart as proof. The huntsman, however, could not kill Snow White. She instead let her go, and took a wild boar's heart as proof. Snow White was all alone in this great forest, not knowing what to do. It seems that the trees were whispering to each other, making Snow White run. She ran as fast as she could, and she found a nice little house to rest in. Inside was a small but tidy house. Because she was so hungry, Snow White ate some vegetables and bread, and she drank a bit of milk. Afterwards, she laid down on one of the beds and she fell asleep. After dark, the real owners of the small house returned. There were 7 dwarfs. As soon as they arrived home, they saw that someone had been there. Each dwarf asked, "Who has been sitting in my chair? Who has been eating from my plate? Who has been eating my bread? Who's been eating my vegetables? Who has been eating with my fork? Who has been drinking from my cup?" But the last dwarf was looking at asleep Snow White. They all came running up, and they cried out with amazement. "Oh, good heavens!" they cried. "This child is beautiful." They let Snow White sleep cozily. The next morning Snow White woke up and was frightened by the dwarf's appearance. The dwarfs asked, "What is your name?" "My name is Snow White," she answered. "How did you find your way to our house?" the dwarfs asked further. The dwarfs She told them that her stepmother tried to murder her, that the sent huntsman had spared her, and that she ran through the forest, stumbling upon their house. The dwarfs spoke with each other and then said, "If you keep house for us, and cook, make beds, wash, sew, and knit, and keep everything clean and orderly, then you can stay with us, and you shall have everything that you want." "Yes," said Snow White, "with all my heart." So, Snow White had lived happily with the dwarfs. Each morning they went to look for gold, while Snow White stayed back. In the evening, when they returned, Snow White had already prepared everything. Meanwhile, the queen, believing that she ate Snow White's heart, could only think to ask her mirror the same question she had asked every day. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" It answered, "You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White, beyond the mountains with the 7 dwarfs, is still 1,000 times fairer than you." This startled the queen, and she realized that the huntsman had deceived her. Then she thought, and thought again, how she could rid herself of Snow White. At last she thought of a plan. She went into her most secret room and made a poisonous apple. It looked normal on the outside, but this apple, but those who ate would die. She then dressed as an old woman, then traveled to the dwarf's house to confront Snow White. She put her head out the window and said, "I must not let anyone in. The 7 dwarfs have forbidden me to do so." "That's all right with me," the old woman answered. "I'll easily get rid of my apples. Here, have one." No, said Snow White, I cannot accept anything from strangers. Are you afraid of poison? Asked the old woman. Look, I'll cut the apple in two. You eat half, and I shall eat half. This apple was well made, as the half the queen would eat is not poisoned, and the other half is. Snow White ate the poison half, and as soon as she took one bite, she fell to the ground. The queen looked at her with an evil glare, and said, White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony wood, the dwarfs shall never awaken you. Back home, she asked her mirror, Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is fairest of all? It finally answered, You, my queen, are fairest of all. Her cruel heart was finally at rest. When the dwarfs came home, they found Snow White laying down, not even breathing. She's dead. They tried to wake her up, but nothing happened. They laid her on a straw bed and mourned her death for 3 days. They were going to bury her, but she still looked like a living, healthy person. They said, We cannot bury her, and they had a transparent coffin to put her in. One of the dwarves would watch over it every single day. Even the animals of the forest came to mourn her death. Suddenly, a prince entered the woods and stumbled into the dwarf's house, where he sought shelter for the night. He saw the coffin and said to the dwarfs, Let me have the coffin, and I will give you anything you want for it. However, they answered, We will not sell it for all the gold in the world. He then said, Then give it to me. I cannot live without being able to see Snow White. I will honor her and respect her as my most cherished one. The dwarfs felt pity for him and gave him the coffin. The prince had his servants carry it away, but then one of them stumbled on a bush, and this dislodged from Snow White's throat the piece of the poison apple that the queen gave to her. She then opened her eyes, lifted the lid off the coffin, sat up, and is alive again. Good heavens, where am I? She cried out. Then the prince said, You are with me. He told her what happened and then said, I love you more than anything else in this world. Come with me to my father's castle. You shall be my wife. Snow White loved him, and she went with him. Their wedding was planned. Snow White's wicked stepmother was invited, and when she arranged herself in her most beautiful garments, she stood beside her mirror and asked the same question every day. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who in this land is fairest of all? The mirror answered, You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but the young queen is 1,000 times fairer than you. Not knowing that this was the new queen, was indeed her stepdaughter, she arrived at the wedding, and her heart filled with the deepest of dread when she realized the truth. The evil queen was banished from the land forever, and the prince and Snow White lived happily ever after.